Welcome to the Reddit library. Today, we'll be looking at r/AskReddit, where user Sunjung13 asked, what brands or companies are actually evil? Vera Bradley, hello sweatshop. Their factories are funneled full of refugees from Burma/Myanmar, Guatemala, Sierra Leone. They are drastically underpaid, obviously, and stuck in these huge yet cramped sweatshops, literal sweatshops. My boyfriend when I was in my 20s, he worked in factories through Manpower or some such staffing agency. They placed him there for a few months. He learned that they keep the guards on short-term assignments, probably so they can't get enough evidence to turn them in. It was messed up. He said they gave the workers these paper-feeling pajama things and slip-on cheap sandals. They weren't allowed to bring anything into the sweatshop. Not a bag or a phone, not a lunchbox. They couldn't bring cell phones into the entire facility. My boyfriend was also held to the cell phone rule. He would have to call me from the parking lot before he went in, because even he wasn't allowed to bring his phone into the building. He wasn't allowed to bring a lunchbox either. It was bizarre. The folks were worked to near torture conditions, like not being able to use the restroom, not being able to leave the building during a shift. He said they would work for undetermined length shifts. He wasn't ever given much information about production, about internal affairs. He was just told to watch these crowded rooms. He was supposed to make sure people weren't talking to each other. They weren't allowed to take breaks. It is seriously messed up. And this modern wage slavery happens in the United States. This is why I stopped buying their bags when they moved from their USA plant. I was afraid this exact thing would happen. I have bought a couple of second-hand bags from thrift stores, but reading this, it makes me want to toss them too. De Beers and their Blood Diamond child slavery cartel. Diamonds aren't even rare, they just keep a hold on the supply to make us think so. Freaking banana companies. Seriously, look up their history. They would topple entire governments just to be able to pay workers like garbage and sell the bananas to the states. Union Carbide. One night, a pesticide plant in India leaked methyl isocyanate on the city of Bhopal. 500,000 were exposed, 16,000 died, and 40,000 were permanently disfigured or disabled. They spent years trying to cover it up and get out of any responsibility. My friend Mo was poisoned in utero by that when his parents were visiting their parents in India. His mom died of cancer the year he graduated, and he died of complications from his various disabilities and birth defects 3 years ago. He had one of the most brilliant minds and a fantastic sense of humor. College Board, non-profit my butt. $35 shipping fee to send my SAT score to colleges when it's sent online? Why does it cost $50 to take an SAT? Why am I paying $200 for an AP exam? Forget that. Straight up a monopoly running colleges in America. The best part about nonprofits is that there is a no cap on pay for executives, so the executive can make $20 million a year and it still be a nonprofit. DuPont. Knowingly poison the entire US with a chemical that stays in your body forever and causes health issues and birth defects. There's a whole movie about it called Dark Waters. I believe they're still fighting in court over it since it happened quite a while ago. It's worse than that. DuPont poisoned land and watersheds all over the US, then essentially purposely bankrupted themselves so they could legally divest all the bad companies and lawsuits/fines into spin-off companies with no assets, so they couldn't afford to do the cleanup/remediation. The good parts they sold to Dow, never mind all that inbred business. Amway. They're a MLM company that preys on the ignorance of poor people. The DeVos family became billionaires of what is essentially a pyramid scheme. If someone gives you a book called Business of the 21st Century by Robert Kiyosaki, turn around and run the other way unless you're into this whole Ponzi scheme thing. The National Football League sent a crooked doctor to testify before Congress and lie about football turning players' brains into mush. They destroyed the career of the researcher who discovered it. They threatened lawsuits against journals that published the research. They actively misled players about the danger. Yes, everybody knew you could get a concussion playing football, but the league led players to believe it could be managed like any injury. Just get a couple weeks rest and it will heal. The league knew everyone causes permanent damage that never heals and lied to players about it. When ESPN co-produced a documentary about all this with PBS Frontline, the league forced them to disavow it and take their name off it or risk losing coverage access. The worst is that it's not even the serious concussions that cause the most damage. It's the smaller head bumps that accumulate over time and result in CTE, so health issues are practically unavoidable. Yup. Every single collision causes brain damage. Every time the center snaps the ball and jams into the guy in front of him. Anytime a ball carrier is tackled. Nothing is perceptibly different between subconcussive hits, but if you cut a rope's fibers one at a time, eventually it's gonna snap. Ticketmaster and Live Nation, are they the same company? So messed up because they own all the big venues as well. 10 years ago got great seats to every show. Now this waiting room is BS. They don't own the venues, they just make them sign exclusivity contracts. Even if you go to the box office, they're still on Ticketmaster's website. Also, let's not forget the time that they lost that huge class action lawsuit for their BS fees, then made it extremely difficult for any of the recipients to use the vouchers they were given. There literally had to guides in how to find them on TM's website, and they extremely limited in use. I think I never used one of mine. Bear should be the top comment. Literally, knowingly sold HIV-tainted blood products to Africa and third world countries rather than lose money by destroying their tainted inventory. Source: I might be thinking of someone else, but they also made Zyklon B for the Nazis, the gas used in chambers. If you want to go down the list of companies that were involved in the Holocaust, you're gonna end up an alcoholic. UTS. They're responsible for certifying lots of cocoa farms, especially in Ivory Coast, that abuse West African children in hazardous, grueling labor and let farms continue in nationally protected forests. They put the certified label on imported chocolate to your country when the certified chocolate actually did use child labor swept under the rug. Edit: UTS certified, not UTS snacks. Since there seems to be confusion, this is not the same as UTS Quality Foods, the snack foods company. Chiquita Banana Company have allegedly been involved in the deaths of trade unionists and threats to their families. Also, keep in mind Chiquita Banana Company is the rebranded name. They were originally called the United Fruit Company but changed the name due to their deserved horrible reputation. The United Fruit Company began in the mid to late 19th century. They controlled the railroads and the banana plantations in many Central American countries, starting in Costa Rica and moving to the others like Honduras and Guatemala. They became the de facto rulers of these countries, which is where the term Banana Republic comes from. They heavily exploited local cheap labor to benefit a few wealthy elite and were responsible for many human rights violations. Their almost 100 years of exploitation and land grabbing played a huge role in the Guatemalan Civil War. The attack on the United Fruit Company office and the violent response to the protests that followed is said to have been the spark of Guatemala's gruesome 30-plus year civil war, where the Guatemalan military committed genocide against the Mayan population. Official estimates say around 200,000 people were killed, but I've seen other estimates that say it might have been even closer to 1 million. Even now, they continue to exploit farmers in Central America and Southern South America and are said to have exposed workers to harmful pesticides, paid several armed groups in Colombia, armed groups that were actively fighting against each other, environmental pollution, and I'm sure the list goes on. Nestle. Nestle are responsible for the deaths of thousands of African babies. It was a lengthy process meticulously engineered and designed to rid the African mothers of their money by getting their babies dependent on the better quality synthesized milks. Over time, the company ramped the prices up until not only the bank accounts were dry, but so were the breasts. Edit spelling. Ah yes, the company whose CEO didn't consider access to water to be a human right. I actively avoid Nestle and feel horrible when I accidentally buy one of their many products. There are just so many products out there. Basically any fast fashion brand, H&M, Forever 21, etc. Oh buddy, the stuff I could tell you. I currently work for a major fashion retailer. Their clothes are made in the same sweatshops as the cheap brand. Literally the only difference is the brand label that gets sewn in and the price they're sold at. The warehouses and stockrooms are full of fleas and rats. Workers are paid below minimum wage, then topped up with bonuses that are kept out of reach, get less than minimum required breaks, and do not get statutory sick pay. And yes, this is illegal. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Fashion companies work sweatshops in US territories like Saipan, so they can put Made in USA on the labels, but the territories don't follow US labor laws. Then, they import workers from places like Indonesia and Malaysia. Do you know any brands or companies that are really evil? Let us know in the comments below for a chance to be featured in an upcoming video. Thank you again for watching, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more from the library. See you soon.